Know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Ooh, sucky now. Boom. Pure energy. Pure energy.
All right, Las Vegas. Welcome tonight with us on KLAV 1230 AM. You are listening to Real Talk with Clever Minds. I am Miss Please, and to my lovely...
I am Mr. Z. Hello, America, Las Vegas, Nevada. This is a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Got in my car the last couple of days, and both cars said icy possible, and another car said be ice. Something about the computer tells you to slow down because of ice. It was no ice, but hey, it was cold.
It's super cold.
It was deadly, deadly, deadly cold. How are you doing over there, Miss Please?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am doing better than to be expected. Start off, our condolences to the world that we have lost a great, great leader, Nelson Mandela. We announced that a couple of weeks back. Me and Miss Please thought we heard it that he passed away, but he just passed away recently. And when I was thinking before he even after he passed away on a couple of things, and Miss Please always gets me to thinking because she's very literal and she just keeps me on my toes. But I had thought about some things this past week, and I asked a friend of mine, how strong is the power of forgiveness? And I had a few answers, and I don't know how strong it can be, but Mr. Mandela himself must have really mastered that aspect, the power of forgiveness, because me personally, what I've heard through some of the testimonials aspect that's gone through him in life, that's pretty deep. What do you think about that, Miss Please, the power of forgiveness, ma'am?
I think forgiveness is very powerful. We don't do it very well, and we don't do it often, but I think it's very powerful. If you can forgive and forget is the key. Most people say they forgive, but they don't forget, so then you really don't forgive.
Oh, that makes sense. I've got a quote from a thing here. Especially this is towards you because I admire the way you think. It says, according to Toner, 1996, good leaders do not simply want their followers to do something good. Good leaders want their followers to be somebody.
I just had a conversation earlier. I was telling a new friend of mine.
There you go.
That
I was sick of you. I'm sorry. I'm sick of you. This is a serious moment. I'm going to read this quote again. All right, here we go. According to... Cut her mic off.
I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing because you have to see Mr. Z's face was like, yo, but.
Yeah, basically. I thought I was bad. Okay. You just on the prom, man. 7 days a freaking week. Okay. Or on the prom. According to Toner, 1996. This is why I like this. And the guest we're going to have on the latter part of the show is Dr. Cheryl Lentz. And she's very literal. She's a very great thinker, and I like her. But this is something that's based off of Miss Please and myself, but also the things about Mr. Mandela. And here it goes again. According to the Toner, 1996, I'm going to ask you exactly what this means. Good leaders do not simply want their followers to do something. Good leaders want their followers to be somebody.
That is a good leader. I wish I saw more of that here in Vegas. I see more of it. We're both from California, so we've seen more of this in California. Unfortunately, you don't see that here. People don't. Everyone thinks that they're a leader. And to me, and that quote signifies that a good leader develops people to be not just great, but to be somebody. I'm not a leader, and I'm not as valuable to a company as I should be if I'm not making you into something and pushing you off to do better things instead of staying here and making my numbers look great.
Oh, okay, now back to what you were saying, because we were chuckling so hard. Go back to it, girlfriend.
Oh, no, I was just saying that I was just talking to a new friend of mine. I'm kikiing on the air. I'm sorry. But I'm I'm a go-getter, and I like to be surrounded by people like us, like minds. I just disconnected my headset. That I push you to strive for better, especially if I see that talent in you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not going to just wake up and just say, hey, I'm going to be the garbage man. Heck no, I'm going to be the supervisor of the garbage crew.
I know, that's right.
You know?
Definitely. And for those who don't know, please give us a call in today at 702-731-1230. We've always asked you folks to call in. And then... Oh, you over there being simple over there. You got the fingers.
Cute. She's got the sign language and charade. She's like, hold on. I just saw you hang up that phone.
Oh, hopefully they'll get back with us. But we would like for you folks to call in because this show is really about you, the audience. You know what about, and with the deep thoughts of Miss Please over here, she can always answer most questions better than I can. So
I
let's
think
do
we
that.
collaborate.
Yeah, no, you pretty good, girl. Because I'm listening to my shows. I'm like, ooh, dang, Mr. Z, you kind of nutty there.
I think we balance each other.
Last week, I called my girlfriend. I didn't mean that.
A real
folks.
girlfriend?
No, you guys. I was jokingly. So anybody took that personally, that was joking when I called heifer. That's a term of endearment for some people. Don't get it. I wouldn't want to offend anybody. Like, boy, he's just so rough with these girls on the air. He just talks. But no, I really appreciate the lovely lady over to my right. So please do not take it any way that I have any animosity towards this lovely lady at all.
I have a question real fast before our guest. We have a guest, Chris O'Rourke, coming on with us real fast to talk about what he does here in Vegas. You and I had spoke about him before. He's got that vault door that I told you.
That hooba?
A vault. His front door is a vault.
Yeah, you told me about that. You were with his. Was he with us before?
He was working and traveling and doing shows, and family was out of the country.
Oh, okay.
So we had to get him on, and he's available today.
Oh, cool beans.
But I wanted to say a hot mess section.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Tongue tied?
I am, yes.
It must be gossip. That's why you can't get it out.
I was watching TV, and they were doing on the E channel.
You know, who this now?
Right. Have you seen that show, the ER Stories Untold?
I don't like hospitals, so I probably didn't watch it.
I don't. And a friend of mine was over one night, and we were watching, like my guy friend, girlfriend were like best buds.
He's gay?
No,
you said guy friend, girlfriend.
Because that's our relationship. It's like he's like the guy friend, girlfriend.
Oh, he got in the friend zone. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, bro. Yeah, she put you in the friend zone. She clarified this on national radio. Bro, you in the friend zone. I'm sorry to be. Go ahead, girl.
But there was a little old lady stuck on the toilet, and when the paramedics showed up, they showed up with
the Maramucil.
We call Vaseline, but they were like, "Can someone hand me the petroleum jelly?" And she had fallen asleep on the toilet, but they were trying to get her from being sealed in the toilet seat.
Isn't there a kind of a gap there? Because she doesn't have a penis, so it should have been a little
hook, right?
She should have been able to just wasn't no suction there. So what? I'm just saying. If there was a penis there, it could have been a little more tighter in the suction. Then she sit there with a depends on, and then there was a solid seal.
So I saw that. I was like, do they still use the word petroleum jelly?
Yeah, of course. Men do all the time.
Not that kind of petroleum jelly. And then I saw Raquel Welch. She was on Fashion Police.
They use it for all kinds of lips and the modeling and stuff, don't they? Is that
what and for fighting, right? Boxers use it to keep from splitting, or football players?
Boxers.
Boxers,
yeah.
Okay. But I just was at a loss, like, they still use that word? But I saw on Fashion Police, Raquel Welch. Mm-hmm. Chris, we're going to come to you in a second, in less than 30 seconds. And she was telling Joan Rivers said, well, how long are you going to stay in this industry, or something of that matter? And she said, well, I think when you're 80, you should give it up. Joan Rivers was like, hey, let's rewind that. And let's rephrase that whole sentence. Raquel Welch is beautiful. And she's, 70? In her 70s?
Oh, she's a Betty. She's a
MILF, a Betty, and everything else.
Oh yeah, she's a little hottie. That's one of those ones who marries her. Be like, yo, dude, I don't need to change that, dude. I got Raquel Welch.
Is she mixed though? I couldn't.
She's Italian, I do believe, or something. But because think about it, she played in 10,000 BC. back when she made the bikini hot with the fur on it, and her poster is hot. Her poster is one of the hottest posters that came out at a particular time.
Even better than Bo Derek?
Oh, hell yeah. That poster.
Oh,
yeah, it was way before.
Say that way before you come on the air.
Yeah, it was way before. But her poster, for those who don't know, is remember 10,000 BC when
I thought you were making a joke by saying she was posing
no.
back
Her
then.
poster was one of the hottest posters out at that time. Where she was on a little animal like pose, kind of sort of.
Really?
She's the one that made the 10,000. She really carried that movie. It was not much. She didn't speak in that movie, but
she didn't.
No, it wouldn't, because it was 10,000 BC. They grunted. It's like, it's like, give me some. Come here.
Let me pull your hair.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
But anyway, I just thought that she was beautiful, and I also saw that Britney Spears is here. So I'm hoping that we can get both of them because
I'm just gonna walk up to him one day and say, "Hey, girl, come on with it. You in Vegas now, real Vegas show. Let's give me some input."
Well, I'm soliciting to get them, not soliciting, but I'm contacting their PR people to get them here because Britney starts residency on the 27th.
Right.
And she was here doing an interview a couple of days ago.
She would for our sister stations here in town?
No, for the TV.
I saw that. Yeah.
And I hung out with Gallagher this weekend.
There you go again, boy. I got to start.
Because he won't do an interview unless you know him. He declines all interviews. So unless you get a chance to get behind the scenes and prove yourself, he won't deal with you. And so far,
if you see my big, tall, black butt, come on, bro.
So let's bring Chris on. Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for making time for us on Real Talk with Clever Minds. So you are Chris O Creations.
That is correct.
And I met you at a showcase with, was it the Women's?
I think it was the Las Vegas Women's Magazine, and I don't know how or why I got tied into that, but I'll take publicity anywhere I can get it, I guess.
I know that's right. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah. Welcome to the show, my man.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yes, you had a piece that I just loved, which you call Family, which is, do you want to describe it to our audience? I think it's beautiful.
Family, the one that you saw is a miniature version of what I had ultimately planned to do, and the one that you saw was about 38 inches tall, which is just over 3 feet, and it has 4 pretty distinct different elements that are all unique in shape and size, and then each element that I call an element, it's kind of a twisted, turning type of a real organic type figure that resembles like an abstract version of a human body. And then each element has what I would consider the head, and that is made up of a perfectly round sphere, all in stainless steel, all fabricated. And it's a representation of my family. I have a young daughter who's going to be 2, and I have a little boy who just turned 5, and a beautiful wife and myself. And the reason I did that piece in a smaller scale was because I was planning on doing the larger one for a big event in Grand Rapids, Michigan this year for an event called Art Prize. And before committing to that in a bigger scale, I wanted to go ahead and build something a little bit more tangible and affordable. And my 5-year-old son told me that was his favorite piece, and that's what inspired me to go ahead and make the full-size version.
And it's beautiful. I know I was reading your bio, and you love the blend of lines, curves, and metal. What started you in this industry?
Well, I got my start, like a lot of kids, I took metal shop. Every different metal shop I could take in high school I took. And out of high school I got kind of really, really attached to motorcycles, which spawned into like a custom motorcycle kind of a thing, because who wants to be just like everybody else? And I took a job with a guy in I was in Southern California at the time, and he moved to a place called Tombstone, Arizona, which everybody's heard of and few people have been there. But I actually lived there for almost 2 years, apprenticing under a guy who really, really knew what was going on with not only metal fabrication but custom motorcycle design. And so I kind of got my feet really, really wet in that. And then when I came back to I went back to California, stayed in the motorcycle industry for quite a while there, and then had an opportunity to come here. And when I came here, I wanted to kind of change things a little bit and get into things that were a little bit more appealing to a broader audience. So I started doing architectural metal and home furnishings all in this same type of caliber work and material base, which is stainless steel and aluminum essentially. And it just kind of blossomed from there into what I consider the next logical step, which is sculpture.
I think your sculptures are beautiful, and I also saw on, on Facebook and some other media sites that you, which you showed me when I met you, you have this vaulted door, and it's just awesome. When I met you, you said, you know, my artwork is like metal shop or metal one-on-one. Let me show you my door.
Yeah.
And your door.
The door is actually a combination of just about everything I've ever done in the metal industry, which is machining and tool and die work. Tool and die is basically when you build something out of metal that actually produces other metal products. Like, if you can imagine a positive and a negative of what would be on either side of a car fender. Mm-hmm. So when the two pieces of metal come together and you have a flat piece of metal between them, out comes a car fender. So that you can imagine the precision that has to be instilled into these tools and these dies when they're being built. And that's part of my background is tool and die. So I work on a little bit more of a precision playing field than most fabricators, and that's what really made that vault door a reality, because if any one part of that weren't as precision as it is because of my background, it would not function as smoothly and effortlessly as it does.
I remember when you showed me that, you said, you can come and see the door and check it out. And I was just excited. And my next question was, when the door doesn't work, how do you get out?
But the door always works. It's mechanical.
Yes, you told me that.
So there's nothing that can fail on it.
That is so
and
awesome.
There's other doors, there's other egress doors in the house. As a matter of fact, when my inspector saw that door, who actually wasn't my inspector, but a really focused inspector that I know that works for the county, I happen to be in the city, he said that door would pass my inspection because you can look at it, and unless you're a complete moron, you'd be able to figure out how to, because it can only turn one way or the other. There's not like 16 different, because the code reads that there's no special knowledge that is required to function a door. And he goes, you could grab those handles and turn it one way. If it didn't work, you turned it the other. You just unlocked it, you opened it, you're out the door. And that's what they're concerned about is fire egress. So even my hard-nosed inspector friend said that he would pass the door. So it is quite it's quite a piece, and it's a great conversation piece when people come over, because it again, just the way it functions, and that all plays into just the gamut of different things I've done as a metal fabricator and machinist in my lifetime.
Well, I think you're not just a metal fabricator and a machinist. I think you're a metal genius.
No, man. Anytime a woman that I know can speak about somebody months ago and get you on the air, you must have really impressed this lady, man. So
well, thank you for that. I appreciate that, because I'm extremely humble. I know that what comes out the back end stinks, and I put my pants on one leg at a time. And,
man, mine smells like roses, man. I don't know who the hell you talking about, man. My son said, "Ooh, Daddy, your sparks are so good."
I'm humble. So thank you for those compliments. And as a matter of fact, in the show in Grand Rapids, Michigan, there was a gal who was an art teacher in northern Michigan who was standing there talking to me about the piece that I took out there this year. And I was telling her about it, and she was really getting interested in it and stuff. And she said, well, if somebody didn't pay you to build this piece, why did you build this piece? And I said, well, to bring it to Grand Rapids. And she said, well, most of these people have these pieces sold before they bring them here. And I said, well, I'm really passionate about what I do, and if I get an idea to do something, I have to execute it. Otherwise, I can't sleep at night, and I'd rather sleep at night. So I just continually to produce product that is kind of jaw-dropping for people. And this gal said, well, I don't get why you are so drawn to do this. And I said, you know what, to be honest with you, I don't get it either. But here's the analogy that the only way I can really seem to put it in perspective for somebody is that my heart is holding a gun to my head saying, you have to do this. And that's literally how passionate I feel about what I'm doing right now.
It's very passionate.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
How much does your artwork go for?
It really depends. I've got stuff that I built several years ago, and actually one that's on the bench right now that's $1,500, and then I've got stuff that's been appraised all the way up to $300,000.
Okay, now
but one of them's a foot tall and one of them's 20 feet tall. Okay, so I mean, it just depends on what your budget is.
Okay, now my other question is this: how old are you?
I am. What year is it? I'm about 42, I think.
Okay, now if I got a piece from you and I killed you, would it be worth anything?
Oh, that's
It'd probably be worth a lot more. But I would, you know what I would do if I were you is I would buy a piece and let me live out my days and create the rest of what I plan to create. And then the piece will be worth even more when I die.
I like that. I like negotiation.
You know, because I'm serious though about artists, man. People are like, how old is he? Is he going to die anytime soon? Can I hope?
And that's true.
How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 51.
Oh, you actually
I
said
live
it
kind of
live?
recklessly. You'll probably outlive me.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, I don't like when artists, a lot of artists, the people think of how close they are to death or whatever's going on. What is that, a jinx or something? Because
no, you know, it's once the artist passes, you know that it's a limited amount of work that they've created. While they're still alive, the possibilities are endless on what they could create. But I will tell you this: there was just a big milestone broken by Jeff Koons, who's an artist out of New York, and he did a series of balloon dogs out of stainless steel. I believe they're cast and then they're liquid painted, but nonetheless, they're pretty cool. They look like something that you would get out of a clown at a carnival when a clown makes the kids' little balloon animal thing.
Cute.
He did these balloon dogs, and he just sold one for I want to say it was $58 million.
Oh, you full of boo-poo caca.
No, I'm looking at it.
No, man, don't be trying to lie to our audience on the air. No artwork for no $58 million.
It just broke the record by $20 million for the most expensive artwork ever sold by a living
I've got to
artist.
Google that now.
Say that again so the audience can hear this, because I want to hear this one again. One more time.
His name is Jeff Koons.
Spell
and
the
as a matter
Koons.
of fact, you can see some of his work at the Bellagio. No, I'm sorry, not the Bellagio. The Wynn. Steve Wynn just bought tulips from him, or maybe it's called roses. I can't remember.
$58 million, my man.
$58 million.
That's something. That's like a Monet or Renoir or something of that caliber.
And this guy's still alive. That's what I'm saying. So you don't have to kill me. That was my point.
He was like, I've already had a lot.
Okay, man. I won't do you in, man. I won't die for you, man.
So I have a question, because you made a comment that I was paying attention, and you said that you live recklessly. What do you mean by living
I
recklessly?
was totally kidding. I used to live recklessly. I was just trying to play into his whole thing with the. No, I have a wife and kids now, and I drive like old people. You know.
Oh, okay. I totally got it. But seriously though, about your artwork is very, very beautiful.
It is.
So, do you ever give artwork away just to give it away?
You know what? If I was in the financial position to, I would love nothing more than that. In other words, if I were to win the lottery tomorrow, and I play every day, every time there's a drawing, I play.
Okay.
If I were to win the lottery, I would literally continue to do what I do and give my work away to work, because my work isn't designed to be viewed by just my family and I and the few people that come to my house. It's designed to be, viewed by the masses. And I have a few outdoor public sculpture installations, but my goal is to get a lot more, especially locally, because most of my outdoor public installations, believe it or not, are not even in Las Vegas.
No, they're on the East Coast and Midwest, right?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed a lot of the older artists that, Monet and some of the other
Ansel, that's artwork.
a lot of some of the other artists, they used to give a lot of stuff away for trade and barter and things of that nature. A lot of them weren't sold. A lot of artists didn't sell their stuff. A lot of it was bartered just for their upkeep of life.
Right.
Have you ever done that?
I haven't as of this point. I mean, I do a lot of bartering stuff, but never typically, or I haven't typically with my art, just on account of, trying to find somebody that's got something of equal value that sees the value in what I'm doing is like a needle in a haystack. I think back then needs were, much simpler, I think, and I think that just the whole dynamic of the economic situation was in a different peril back then, I believe. So to find something that you need that somebody else had was probably a lot easier back then.
Well, I think also, and I'm glad Miss Please was able to get you on the air, because the arts are very, very important. I think culturally, especially here in Las Vegas, Nevada, we're lacking a lot of that, and especially our children are not really exposed to some of the cultural aspects of art.
True.
Do you feel that artwork contributes to the intelligence of our youth?
I couldn't say how much it does, in the fact that I don't know the number of how important this is. And let me give you an example. Last year, I took a piece called Windows to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and the most common question I heard was, what is it? And I like to play in the arena of abstract contemporary. And the reason I like to play there is because everybody is going to have a different definition of what they see in my work. Therefore, I personally don't define my work because I don't want to cloud somebody else's idea of what it could possibly be. Now, let me give you an example. If somebody does, nothing against this kind of work, it's representational. I get it. But if somebody does a guy on a horse out of bronze, chances are the three of us are going to see a guy on a horse. So is every single other person in society. Whereas in abstract contemporary, you can see whatever your mind will take you to, and there is no right or wrong answer. And I tell you what, there's a lot of stuff in our society today that will just completely divide us right down the middle. I mean, who you voted for in the last election, what kind of truck you drive, what church do you go to, you name it, it divides us. And here's the thing is that art can unite us, even if it is a difference of opinion. It is not an aggressive difference of opinion. It's more of an enlightening situation, in my personal opinion. Like, I heard two guys standing right next to my piece the first year I did Grand Rapids, and they were like, oh, I see this. And the guy's like, wow, I would have never seen that unless somebody else had mentioned that. I kind of see this. And the other guy says, wow, you're right. I wouldn't have seen that unless some. And so the idea of getting people that might not otherwise converse is huge, in my opinion, because every person has something of value in them for everybody else to share.
Chris, tell our listeners how they can reach you.
Chris O Creations is my website. All my contact information is on there. There's a couple of videos on there under the vault door button on the top of the screen. There's a video of me building and my inspiration for the art piece Windows that was the one I was just talking about in Grand Rapids. And then the vault door video is the next one down. It's basically to my YouTube link. But Chris O Creations, I'm also on Facebook with that same domain, and also on Instagram with that same domain.
And if anyone's interested in buying your pieces, how do they reach you? Just by going to your site?
Yeah, there's contact information on there, both email and cell phone numbers and all that kind of stuff. So I am easily found. As a matter of fact, if you punch in Chris O'Rourke on Google, I come up as like the third or fourth website.
You actually come on first.
Does it? Can you stay on with us, Chris, or you have to go?
All right.
No, I'm good.
Chris, thank you for joining us. We appreciate hearing about your artwork and learning a little bit about you. So hold on, and we're gonna hear a song real fast and bring on another guest. It's just This is a song written by Mark Hopkins, and he was in the tsunami in Thailand, I believe it was, in 2004, and he was affected by it. So he wrote this song, and there is a charity in Thailand called Phuket. It has been good to us, and Sue Altman is the director of this charity. And Mark Hopkins wrote this in 2011, and so they're raising money for the orphans in Thailand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So little time before the ocean rises, and who's gonna pray for you tonight? Shouts and screams swirl in my head. until I seen the fear upon your face. And as I walk amongst the oceans, pure.
Oh, that's very nice, Miss Please, for the charity for the tsunami. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you found that. Yeah, because it's very important. I think they are still devastated, and they still do need some help out there as well, too.
Are they still recovering?
Yeah, of course.
I saw the movie, and I never had seen that before.
So if you could find the information for that as well, too, that'd be nice for our listeners to be able to. You said it's a charity of some sort?
Yeah, yes. The organization is called Puckett Has Been Good to Us, which is PHUKET, has been good to us. And Sue Oltman is the director, and Mark Hopkins is the writer of this song, and the song is called Tsunami Day.
Oh, okay.
And I was reading his bio, and in his bio, he had said that he was in his room, his apartment, and the landlady came and knocked on the door. And
get your ass out.
And he was like, go away. And he said he turned over and covered his ears because she was just banging. And she's like, you leave or you die. You leave or you die. And he was like, go away. And he had a few things to say.
Yeah, got you.
And then later realized the tsunami was hitting. And so he wrote this song. It took him a few years because he was going through, life situations, emotionally, financially.
Gotcha.
You got, in order to produce, we know this from here, in order to produce, you got to have financing.
Yes.
He wrote this song. It took him a while, but it's a beautiful song. So Mark in Thailand, I know you're listening, and you have your listeners tuned in with us today. Thank you for sharing this beautiful song with us. And anyone that's interested, please look up Puckett Has Been Good to Us on the internet. And if you'd like to even donate a small amount or a large amount, all donations are accepted because it goes towards an orphanage program.
Okay, cool beans.
So who do we have?
We have Real Talk with Clever Minds. I am Mr. Z, and over here to my right is Miss Please. If anybody want to call in today, please give us a call at 702-731-1230. And if you're on the
it's called Phuket. I'm sorry, my lovely guy friends.
I had it on mute. I swear I did. And anybody who wants to call on the Progresso cans, give us a call at 866-820-5528. Dr. Shi, how are you doing, ma'am?
Hey, Zach. Very nice to meet you. Thanks
don't worry. We go by Mr. Z on the air.
And I'm Miss Please.
So how are we doing today?
We're doing fabulous. Finally getting through all the unpacking and boxes. We're fantastic.
I'm glad you are. So tell our audience who you are, please.
Sure. My name is Dr. Cheryl Lentz, and I am both an author, motivational speaker. I own a business, and I am sit on many faculties for different universities.
Oh, yes. We had an interesting conversation, some stuff that I did for you, and we had an interesting conversation, and the conversation led to about motivational aspect, and you gave me some bullet points about some of the things we'd like to discuss today.
Is she here locally?
She was here locally. She just relocated.
Oh, okay.
She just relocated, and she's a very interesting lady. And
sounds like it.
Oh, she's very interesting. Matter of fact, the reason why I wanted her on the show for us today is because of you. Some of the books that you have. So basically, tell us about your background, please. You're a college professor. Yes, go ahead, please.
I am a college professor. I've been teaching for about 14 years come January. I am a former military spouse. Matter of fact, this is our 36th move. My husband was former Air Force. So moving is not always a challenge, it's just a little out of practice. But I do a variety of things. I own my own business with owning a publishing company, because part of what we found is my goal is to get research off the coffee table and into the hands of people who can use it. And I'm always frustrated by being a professional academician that we tend to live in our ivory towers. I really want to get all of this wonderful research that many of my students are doing at the master's and the doctoral level and get it into the hands of people who really can benefit from what they have found. But part of it, as you and I discussed, is this idea of motivating them. How do you actually get them to complete their university coursework and to actually go beyond the university words, because that's why they're with us in academia. They want to go out and change the world, and some of them get a little stuck in the process. So my goal is to try and help move them forward to get this information really into the hands of the people who really can benefit from the things that they're finding.
Do you find motivating people is a challenge, or
Oh, absolutely. And it's so strange because one size does not fit all. I mean, I have one student that graduated 6 months early. I have several students who are going to graduate several years late. And it always is a struggle going, I don't understand why someone would want to put off for years what they could have today, particularly because I know, at least the assumption is that many students come because they're looking for a promotion, they're looking to better their family's lives, they're looking to move forward, and academia sometimes handles that ticket for them with giving them additional credentials, additional knowledge, giving them a piece of paper that is of value to the marketplace to be able to say, yes, you have these additional skills so we can move you higher in the food chain. But some of them, I tell you, it's very difficult because I can see the success, I can see the potential, and yet there they sit.
I have a question for you, only because I attended
I knew she was going.
I attended University of Phoenix, and I also was a mentor for the doctoral students because I was working on my doctorate. And,
Fabulous.
Yeah, I have a few years left.
Come on, woman.
Left. But anyway, I've noticed that.
I love you.
I love you too. That when the economy is doing poorly, you have more people enrolled in school. And then when the economy recovers, people shy away from education. So what would you suggest to our listeners in finding that happy medium? Because I believe in education. I push it. If you've got it, use it. Just don't let it sit on the coffee table. But
the challenge you have is that you want to do what others won't, and that's really is how do you get ahead? Success is where opportunity and preparedness meet. And unfortunately, for some, you know the story of the boiling frog, right? If you put a frog in a pot of cold, boiling water, and it will immediately jump out. But if you put a frog into a pot of water and you slowly boil it, the frog will actually die because of that. Just apathetic, it's just changed so slowly over time they don't even notice anymore. So the idea is to be able to prepare yourself for what others aren't willing to do. So when the balloon goes up, for when something hits, when the economy goes south, you already have the skills that you need. You're not having to suddenly go back to school and get those skills because that's 2, 3, 4, 5 years or more outside of that. If you have it when you don't need it, when it happens, now you'll be prepared and you can hit the ground.
Mm-hmm. Also, like too, now, would Miss Please just ask, I feel, and just my personal opinion, education used to be really, really relevant in our society here in America, but now I think it's weighing by the wayside. Do you feel our educational system is weighing by the wayside, or do you feel that we need it, or do you feel that technical schools are more important, or academia that you push is important?
It all depends on what you want to do with it. I mean, I can tell you that, you look at the success stories, and if we measure success by what you have built, what you have increased value of, you look at the Bill Gates, you look at the founder of Facebook, you look at the founder of FedEx, and I don't know if you know the story, but the founder of FedEx had to create a company for a master's assignment for school. He dropped out of school and is a multi-billion-dollar man now. So you look at the idea as if what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And the idea is that an education isn't a guarantee of success, it's just a higher probability of success. So you're always going to have those. You're always going to have those who don't necessarily need a formal credentialed education, but the Bill Gates of the world, that they're still brilliant nonetheless. The challenge is can you have the best of both worlds? Because theory, the ivory tower in academia, is not as good as practical application only isn't as good as. But if you put the two together, now you have the best of both worlds of what's possible and what's practical. And you merge those together, and now you're a powerhouse.
So, Chris, I'm asking you a question. Within the art aspect, is educational important, like Dr. C is talking about? Do you think, Chris?
I think there's nothing better than getting a good education. I think there's nothing better than actually using it. Coming from Southern California and spending a little bit of time in L.A., I can't tell you how many people that went to school for drama are waiting tables.
Yes.
I personally only went to a trade school. That's all I have under my belt. But I consider school, I should say I consider life a school. And I constantly am striving, whether it be through education from others or just research myself or trial and error. I mean, whatever it takes, I think somebody's desire to continue to learn should never stop, because I feel like that's when we as a people stop.
Oh, okay, got you.
I think it's, and that's what we were saying earlier. I think it's For me, and it's just my opinion, I think it's really sad that we pay a lot of money to get educated, and we're taught as kids, you got to go to school, you got to get educated, even if it's to be a professional waiter or waitress. If there's a school for it, take it. But when you go to school, look for jobs in that field. Just don't say I've got the degree. And
Gotcha. Now, you had an acronym, Dr. C. So what is the goal? What is your goal of the RISK method? What does that mean?
Well, I've been looking for a way to be able to help motivate my students to be able to, what happens when they get stuck and when they're thinking. Most of my, 14 years of academia is in thinking and critical thinking, and I added a new component called refractive thinking, which is and I hate the box, but I have to use it to make the analogy. Is you think inside the box or outside the box. Thinking is inside the box, critical thinking is outside the box, but what lies beyond the box? That's the refractive thinking part. That's the thinking beyond limits. That's the thinking without borders. That's the Einstein aspect of it. Well, in a recent book that I collaborated with 21 different experts across the country, went international bestseller in October, called The Expert Success Solution. Chapter 5 is about the RISK method. It's an acronym where your helping hand really is at the end of your wrist. It's something my mother-in-law, rest her soul, taught me years ago, and it's one of those, remember, we're teaching in education is to help people up, not to give them a fish. You're going to teach them a fish so they can eat for a lifetime. So what I've come up with is an acronym for them to be able to understand, well, what happens when you get stuck? I see an awful lot of people that are in my classrooms that are, coming back because they want an education. The business world will not promote them without having at least an undergrad or a master's degree. Yeah. So they're sitting in my classroom, and I see this fear in their eyes, and I give them all these fun things like brain teasers and all these types of, acronyms that you have to figure out and games and things they have to play, and they're so afraid. They take them home to their kids, and their kids can do them in 5 minutes. Why? Fear. Because kids, are looking at, what happens when you first walk, right? You dust yourself off, you pick yourself up, you keep going, and you giggle and you laugh. Adults don't do that anymore because they have learned fear. They have been embarrassed. They have been humiliated. They have been fearful. So now they won't raise their hand in class.
Shunned.
Now they're afraid to get the wrong answer because people are going to make fun of them. And I know they have that innate desire inside of them, and they can do some of these things, but they have just absolutely had that beaten out of them that they are so willing to only follow, they won't lead. So I came up with a RISK method, which is just a way of what happens when you get stuck, when you have to problem solve. And it just stands for 5 different things. You either change your words as a W, you change the rules, you change your imagination, you change your space, you change your time. So you're looking at your tools. You want to be able to look at the ability of what happens when I've got a problem in front of me that I can't figure out. And my favorite story of all time is, I'm sure you've heard this, it's very cliche, but it just puts the point out so eloquently, is an engineer takes his son, just happens to have his son with him, who's 7 years old. They have a huge 18-wheeler who gets stuck underneath an overpass.
Oh, my gosh.
And all the brilliant people around, the mayor is out there and the city planners are out there, and everybody's trying to figure out how to get this truck unstuck. So they're spending half an hour, and little Johnny's pulling on Daddy's pant leg, right? Dad, and he's like, honey, hang on. And finally, a few times goes back, and Dad's like, come on, Dad, I got an idea. And he's learned to admire his son and respect his opinion. So Daddy says, okay, son, what you got for me? He goes, remember that time when the ball got stuck and we had to kind of take the air out of the ball so we could get it out of where it landed, in Dad's garden? He goes, oh my gosh, and the light bulb. He goes, why can't you just let the air out of the tires? A 7-year-old comes up with this, right? You got the brilliant minds all over the fact. Yeah. You have a 7-year-old who's just using complete common sense. So all they did was let the air out of the 18 wheels and I don't know what the PSI is here, but enough to get it out from under being stuck, and then they could, tow the 18-wheeler out from under the underpass, and everybody went fine. But think of the fact that all these brilliant minds came up, and the 7-year-old is the one
figured it out, huh?
Well, Dad, why not?
This is a great story that's shared with all the scholars.
Could you tell us? Go ahead. No, I wanted the audience to let us know who you are, because we have a limited amount of time, and you're very important, just like Chris is. So we want the audience to know who you are and how they can get in touch with you, and some of the books you've written and the awards that you have.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, if you Google Dr. Cheryl Lentz, much like Chris, I will come up and you will see all types of websites. You can see me on drcheryllentz.com, and that's spelled with a C, so it's CHERYLLENTZ. You can type in The Refractive Thinker, and that'll give you, it's an award-winning doctoral anthology series. We've won 12 awards. You can also type in Pincero Press. That's my second imprint. We've won a few awards there as well. So The Refractive Thinker has its 10th volume, which will be coming out in the spring of 2014. The Golden Palace Theory of Management, which was my very first book that was out, is actually one of my favorites. And it's a business allegory, because I'm sure many of us have seen journeys in our lives where we have very characters that we have to protect their names when we tell the story, so you don't, the innocent or the guilty. So this is set back in Old England, and it's just hysterical when you see these people with these characters going, hey, I know someone like Henry, and oh my goodness, do I know someone like Merlin, So then we have The Consumer Learner. So if you are an educator, this is a fabulous book, because it has the ability that there is a shift in education, that somehow or another professors are no longer professors in the classroom. We've become customer service agents. And I don't agree with that. Because my job is not to please the customer, the students. My job is to teach them.
Gotcha.
And some of my students don't always think I am the greatest thing since sliced bread until 6 months later when they realize going, wow, Doc C had it going on. You know?
Chris, tell me this. What the doctor is speaking about, Dr. Lance is talking about, do you put any of that stuff into practice when you do your art, or how do you think when you do your art?
Absolutely. There was one of my favorite things was the four little symbols. It was like at and pound and then the box, and it was intended to say, screw the box, but with the four-letter word.
I like that.
That's like my favorite thing, and the story that she's telling about I've heard that story. I didn't realize that it was a young kid, but there's a company that actually has artists come in and do residencies, and they're a company that's really, really well known throughout this country, and they're a big manufacturer, and they're one of the only foundries that's left in this country. And these artists that come in and do these residencies, and I only know about this because I know some of their sales reps, and they offered me a position like that. I just wasn't able to take advantage of it. But the reason they keep doing it is because these artists will come in and solve problems for engineers that engineers can't figure out because they think with too much brain. And so it's kind of the same thing that what she's talking about with the kid, the young kid, the 7-year-old, saying, "Dad, just take the air out of the tires."
Yeah, I love that story.
Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead, my
No. I was going to say I love the story. I was just sharing with Mr. Z that story. In college, you always hear it. I heard it more so in the master's program with every class I had. But I love that story because it's like, how simple
it's
could it be to resolve an issue? We think so complex.
With the new year coming up, and there's a reason why I wanted you to have you on the air tonight as well, too. I think we spoke about that when I was doing some business with you. The leadership aspect, you had something about toner. Can you tell me what that toner aspect is? I didn't understand that, but I'd like to quote about toner.
So, is the lead follower get out of the way, or the fail?
No, let's see here. The toner again. According to Toner, 1996, good leaders do not simply want their followers to do something. Good leaders want their followers to be somebody. And I looked on page 127. What does that mean, according to Toner? Who is Toner in 1996? What is that?
He is most of the research that you will use in an academic setting is peer-reviewed, meaning that we're going to be, within the ivory tower, going to be able to share our results with our peers, for example, so that, anyone that's going to have leadership is we're going to publish in leadership journals. But as Chris was saying, is that if you want to be able to get your message out, if you're a leader, you don't go to leadership conference. If you're an artist, you don't go to art conferences. You want to be able to go to a conference that's completely different to what it is you're trying to do, because that will help you motivate you. That will help you think differently. Because if you go with the same people you're always there, you're going to think the way you've always done. And that's what Toner is looking at, is what are you actually doing with this information instead of just nodding your head in agreement. I don't have a to-do list. I have a to-done list. I am here associating with a variety of people so you can go forward and lead, follow, or get out of the way. Are you going to be setting the tone, or are you following the tone?
Oh, okay.
So this is something that you want to be able to go out and be able to have people, because I am amazed at how many people, when somebody stands up and is willing to take that first step, and to step out, that you'll have a line of people behind you as long as that first person takes that courage to say, you know what, I don't know if I'm right, but I've got the passion, I've got the drive, and I'm willing to risk failure. Because most people, that's really the problem. It's fear and failure.
Yes, I totally agree. I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. What do you feel about New Year's resolutions?
I like to have goals. I mean, I always make a 5-year plan, and I have a 10-year plan, but they've never happened. But the fact is, think of Alice in Wonderland. You know, Alice goes up to the Cheshire Cat and asks him, well, which way should I go? And the Cheshire Cat says, if you don't know where you're going, any path will do. And so the fact is, even if your path will change, and even though it's not going to be written in stone, as long as you have a goal and you're moving forward. I have something I call the rocking chair strategy, which is you're in a rocking chair, right? And you're just rocking your little heart out, but you're not going forward. And how many of us spend our lives going in circles, and we're just busy people moving paper from point A to point B, but it just never gets us forward. So we don't want to be the Cheshire Cat saying, well, if you don't know where you're going, me telling you isn't going to help. You've got to decide where you're going. And even if that path should change, at least you have a goal. At least you have a plan, a GPS, something to move forward as opposed to just showing up and reacting when life happens. You can either react to it or you can lead it. And I'm far more excited about what happens when I take charge and I can make things happen, even if they're not always exactly what my 5-year plan suggested.
I think as long as you have a starting point, like you said, I agree with you. You got to have a starting point. And I've learned from Steve Harvey, as a matter of fact, he says, put your goals in writing, share them with someone and be accountable. Every morning when he gets up, when he started getting into comedy and before he became famous, he had little Post-its on his mirror. So when he got up, he saw it.
Gotcha.
Start with a goal in mind.
Okay. So, Chris, do you start with a goal in mind when you're creating art, sir?
Yes.
In a very, very abstract way, yes. I think that, I think probably what the doctor's saying is that she doesn't like to do New Year's resolutions because it's a constantly evolving situation, and it's all very fluid, and you have to be able to, and I'm going to use a specific term, respond rather than react to a situation, which may change the outcome of your goal that you've set, but it still, again, keeps you in that forward momentum. So the answer is yes, I do start out with an idea. Does it end up that way when I'm done? Not all the time. Sometimes it's very, very similar. Sometimes it's a lot different, and sometimes it is what it is at the end of the time.
Okay,
Wonderful.
gotcha. Now, doctor, sir, why do you admire Albert Einstein?
He has a fascinating bio. Here's what is really cool that a lot of people don't know about Einstein. It's the fact that he won the Nobel Prize for something that is not the theory of relativity. And it took him 10 years to get the theory of relativity accepted by his peers because he was one of the few brilliant minds in the world who actually got it. And the rest of them just said he was wrong, he failed. And he even doubted himself. There was something that he had, and I don't understand the physics part of it because that's not my area of expertise, but enough to say that he was right. Then he changed his mind. It took him 2 or 3 years to change it back and to have the confidence. And that's the key, is having the confidence to know that he was right all along. But you have to take a risk, and he was flying in the face of all conventional wisdom, and that's what I think refractive thinking is being willing to risk something new that hasn't been done before, and not a whole lot of people are willing to do that.
Well, Dr. Cheryl Lentz and Chris O'Rourke, we're running out of time. We appreciate you both coming on the air and sharing your expertise.
I really appreciate that.
About what you guys have done and how you got to where you are.
And Dr. Lentz, give us an outgoing statement real quick, really brief, maybe 15 seconds, so something that you'd like the audience to hear from you that you weren't able to say.
Just understand that the whole idea of education is to be able to have someone that's going to help shorten your learning curve. That's the whole reason we look for mentors and coaches, is so that we can get there faster and sooner and more effectively than we would have ever done had we done it on our own.
Oh, I really like that. And Chris, you have any parting words real quick, sir?
I do, yeah. I would like to tell everybody to do what they want to do, and eventually the money will come. Don't always make money your first objective in what you're doing, because if you're doing something that you don't like to do constantly, to continue doing something that you don't like to do, it's like retch and no vomit.
Got you. I got you. So thank you, audience, very, very much. This has been Real Talk with Clever Minds. The lovely lady over here is Miss
Please.
I am Mr. Z. Have a lovely, lovely day.
Cheers. And Rodney, thank you for helping me figure out how to say Fotech.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.